I have to give Sony a lot of credit. They made it extremely easy to open up the PS3 controller. There's literally just 5 very regular common screws. You can use a little plastic pick. And there we go. So once you get the hook at the bottom here unhooked, you can see there it's a nice big hook. So just lifting the controller up, you can see the 2 motors for the rumble. The battery triggers are loose right now. They can easily fall apart. Very slightly starting to warp. So once you unplug the connector, the battery just comes out. And it's as simple as that. To replace the joysticks, you're going to have to remove the screw here, the triggers, and remove the whole circuit board. The purpose of this controller for me is to just have it on display looking nice and pretty. Make sure you line up the triggers first, slid back in perfectly the way it should, and the big one, that one has a nice click. Then you're good to put all the screws back in. Turn the screw backwards until you can feel the teeth lining up with the groove. You can feel a little click when the teeth line up with the groove of the plastic, and then remember not to tighten it too tight to strip the plastic groove of the controller. Perfect to display without any worries of the batteries swelling and splitting the controller open. That's actually what happens to the current controller I'm using right now. Doesn't matter how hard I try, the center here won't click close. The battery in here started swelling up just like in your cell phones, and it actually starts bending the circuit board and bending the plastic. So I already opened this one, starting to swell quite significantly. So this battery model is a bit smaller, and the battery gives off the same voltage. The only difference is the capacity, the milliamps. If you have the smaller battery, the controller will come with this extra little plastic adapter to hold the smaller battery in place. If you have the bigger version, you don't need that adapter, you can just put it in. I have another controller, and this battery might be in better shape. I just broke my plastic tip. It's better to break this tip than to break the plastic on the controller. So I'm gonna check out this controller here. It only has 6-axis. It does not have any motors for rumble, and you can see that the plastic is transparent. The exact same battery, one is definitely swelling up more. Replacing the controller I actually use with funny enough, this older battery, but still works and hasn't begun swelling yet. Ah, there we go. There's nothing forcing it open, and it stays nice and snug. And my plan is to just have this controller. What is this? There's a little hole here for you to poke a pin in to hit this reset button. And this piece of plastic is just a little extension face down on the bottom. And it's just a little extension piece. Now, since this controller is a bit dirty, remove the circuit board and all the buttons and do a nice deep clean using my 3 most trusty cleaning supplies: Q-tips, toothpicks, and toothbrush. So for this particular controller, you need a smaller screwdriver head, and that's literally the only screw. Pull the circuit board out. Careful with the ribbons. Here's the little rubber pads. Now I'm just gonna give this controller and all the buttons here a nice scrub down. These buttons only fit in one way. You have to be extra careful with these rubber pads. The D-pad is symmetrical in every way, so it doesn't matter which way it goes in. And the rubber pad for the start and select buttons, the number has to be upside down. And pop the joysticks back in. The hardest part is going to be the triggers. Now here's a common mistake. You can see here the pad is actually on this little hook here. It's actually supposed to go deeper down. Pad sits on top of this, so you have to make sure that the pad drops lower and that this circular piece is what's actually pushing the pad in. Circular piece is lined up with the pad, and then push the rest of the trigger down, and then now you get the nice click. Then you can put the little plastic piece in between, and then we can put the second half on. Start with the triggers, make sure they're lined up properly. Then you snap the bottom, snap the handles, and there we go. Now we have a nice reassembled clean controller, and then put all the screws back in. So I forgot I had this PlayStation TV box, and inside it apparently comes with a controller. At first glance, I don't know if you can tell on camera, but this plastic is actually way more matte than usual, and it's not entirely black. I would say it's slightly more grayer than the previous controllers. The plastic matches the shade that the joystick rubbers are. And then when I opened it up to remove the battery, the inside is very different. Motors are smaller. The plastic's all white on the inside, as well as the circuit board being only half the size. It has hooks on the battery casing itself. So you can see here, it's similar to the other gray battery, and these hooks go into the plastic casing here to hold it in place. So I am assuming this is a more updated and newer version of the PS3 controller, and this now makes 3 different kinds of batteries from 3 different kinds of PS3 controllers. And it seems to have the same specs as the other gray battery. A PS3 chat pad, just like that. It's also a touch screen. You can move your finger around here and move a mouse. It has a built-in battery, just like the controllers. I no longer use this, but I do plan on keeping it. So this guy has a lot of very tiny little screws. I count 8 of them right here. 1 extra short one, because look at how thin the plastic is here for that screw. Oh, it is extremely simple. Kudos to Sony. Another battery, exactly similar. So we can just slide the battery out like that. It is the exact same battery. Now you can tell for sure here that this one is swelling. And it's as simple as that. There are no hooks at all. Make sure you're extra careful with these screws because they are really tiny and really easy to strip. Now you have your collector's chat pad without the worry of a battery splitting it open. Super bonus time! The most common fat PS3 console removes the hard drive by pulling straight out of the console. But the older ones that has backwards compatibility has this little metal flap thing, and you actually remove the hard drive by pulling it sideways and then by pulling it out. And the hard drive is actually stored sideways in the console rather than vertically. Interesting. Neato.